Chris, you're concerned with organising cancer trials in Europe, and you've got a whole lot of interesting new things coming along. First of all, could you tell me about ovarian cancer? You've got an interesting anti-angiogenic agent that you're looking at, haven't you?
Yes, I was presenting a whole bundle of clinical trials organized now by the European Network of Gynae-oncology Trialist Groups, the ENGOT, and so we have now around 30 trials in ovarian, endometrial, cervical and vulva cancer ongoing, so that's quite a high activity. And I was presenting one trial, the so-called TRINOVA 3 trial, in which patients will be randomized between standard chemotherapy or chemotherapy plus trebananib, which is a novel anti-angiogenic agent. Actually, this agent has been shown here to be active in the recurrent situation, but what we by ENGOT are doing is now to look whether this is also active in frontline therapy.
So you're taking a lead and jumping straight to frontline.
Yes, I think it's a very important step forward.
Now, this is nothing like bevacizumab, is it? It's not.
Oh no, it's a different agent. So we understand now that the toxicity might be different. So bevacizumab is inducing hypertension. This does not. On the other hand, this agent does provoke edema, which bevacizumab does not. So angiogenesis, as we understand nowadays, is not only a process of one molecule, namely VEGF. We have several lines of activity. At the moment, it's unclear which of those agents are the most important ones, but I think we are on the way to understand, and many presentations also in this meeting are looking for that point.
And putting trebananib into frontline therapy, what are your hopes?
Our hopes is to improve progression-free survival and maybe also overall survival, so that would be an important answer. We are waiting, of course, we have to wait for the results, but the trial is enrolling very well. We have now more than 800 patients enrolled in the trial.
Mm-hmm. You're also looking at surgery in recurrent ovarian cancer.
Yes.
Now, why are you doing that?
I think it's a very important point to understand whether a surgery in ovarian cancer patient who recurs has any benefit. And this trial is led by the ESGO Germany, and they performed previous retrospective analysis, and they developed an index desktop which help us to understand what are the best candidates for surgery. And we are now randomizing patients in surgery or no surgery, followed by chemotherapy in both cases, to understand whether removing the tumor in the recurrent situation will improve progression-free and of course also overall survival. I think that's a very important trial to understand whether what we are mostly doing at the moment is the correct way to perform.
And difficult to standardize though, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, but we have a very good index to understand what are the candidates who will benefit from a surgery, because the aim of the surgery, no doubt, is to remove all the tumor nodules. So we have to remove everything which is visible, no macroscopic residual disease, as in frontline also in the recurrent situation seems to be of great importance. And we have this index produced by the desktop group, by the ESGO Germany, and this will help us to select those patients.
What's the evidence you're basing your study on then that there could be a benefit?
Yeah, we have retrospective analysis showing us that those patients in whom we are able to remove all the tumor have a great outcome. Of course, that's a selection because there's not a randomized trial, but for those patients in whom we are able to remove completely the tumor to no residual disease, the progression-free survival and overall survival is amazing good. So therefore, we are looking for this group of patients and then randomize them into the trial.
Mm. We've been hearing about endometrial cancer here in Liverpool. Welcome news, because things are happening, and you've got a study also looking at adjuvant therapy in this setting. What's the setting and why are you doing that?
Yeah, as I said before, ENGOT is trying to have studies in all entities of gynae-oncology, and of course also the situation in endometrial cancer is somewhat disappointing because we don't have a really good treatment regimen for the stage 1 high-risk patient. And what we're performing now, and this is a trial which is led by the Scandinavian group, is to randomize those patients into a chemotherapy, which is a standard chemo, carboplatin, Taxol, versus nothing, only observation. And this will help us to answer the question whether adjuvant therapy or adjuvant chemotherapy is of any help for those high-risk stage 1 patients.
And do you think it might be?
Yeah, I'm for sure. Yeah.
I mean, what's the evidence for that?
Oh,
so
yeah,
far?
we see that endometrial cancer behaves somewhat is very similar to ovarian cancer. And of course, we know that they respond to chemotherapy very well if they recur. And we know that there are at least subgroups of patients who have a disseminated disease, even if it's histologically stage 1 and only confined to the uterus. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important to look whether we can improve and neutralize those disseminated cells.
You're painting a very dynamic picture of research here in Europe and being undertaken by ENGOT. What kind of message would you leave doctors with all over the world about the scope for improving the outlook in diseases like ovarian cancer and endometrial cancer?
I think one of the most important messages is that we should include patients in clinical trials and we should try to work together. And I think ENGOT is a very good example that we are able to bring together the European groups on one table and to work together and not to do parallel trials with, which have not the power to show anything, but to go together and join one organization like ENGOT and then to produce a good outcome, and this will change the game.
Chris, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.